Okay, so hello and welcome to SAGA. Thanks for coming out today. I want to be respectful of our presenters' time, so I'm going to turn the floor over to Jacob Turnus. He is the Assistant Director of the Memorial Union. Go ahead and take it away.
So official, I'm a presenter. I asked like 5 minutes ago if I could talk to you guys about homecoming. So thanks for letting me have a couple minutes here. I think Zach may have reached out to some of you, but this year for the homecoming parade, we are pretty desperate for even volunteers. So I'm coming to see if you would be available this coming Saturday. But first, what our parade volunteers could be doing, we may ask you to drive one of our VIPs, our homecoming royalty, our past homecoming royalty. We may ask you to assist with parade lineup. We may ask you to be a judge of the floats. So those are kind of our three main volunteer areas. The parade is Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We ask our volunteers to meet here at 8. I will be providing some donuts as a thank you for coming out so early on a Saturday. And then so we'll meet here in this member student involvement, divide up responsibilities, and then head over to Main Street, which is where our parade lineup will begin at 8:55. So it gives us a little bit of buffer to get volunteers in place and then get over to the location. When I spoke to Dr. Nichols about this and Dr. Lynn, because they sent out a call to the division, we thought it would be good to mention to you all, this could be an opportunity for some of the big planning experience if you don't have that in your current assistantship. Parade is a lot of fun. It's also a lot of hectic and dealing with on-the-spot problem solving. So this would be something that, if you're looking for some event management practice, you could potentially put this on your resume. It's assisted with the coordination of the 4 days homecoming parade. So that's a little extra incentive for you to sign up. That would be great. Other than that, are there any questions about the parade? I have a very basic sign-up sheet, just name and phone number, and you can just, Alex, and you'll just bring that back down, or Zach, one of the two of you, when your meeting's over. That would be great. Any questions about homecoming parade or volunteer opportunity?
Everything is that your homemade portfolio.
Maybe I should talk about title and body of service hour as well. So resume, homemade portfolio, service hour, lots of items. So yeah, sign up if you're willing, and then Zach or Alex will bring that back down to you. But I appreciate a couple minutes of your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So again, thank you very much for coming out to the Student Affairs Graduate Association. Glad you could be here, and hope you enjoyed as we go through this kind of experience together to learn how to be professionals. As I've said to many of you before, SAGA was created to help with the professional development of the cohort. So for those both virtually and on campus, to help provide outside opportunities besides just the classroom or just graduate assistantships in order to improve ourselves. Leaning off of that, I'm going to turn it over to Zach as our VP of Professional Development to share about what is going on in that realm.
Yeah, so today for those that just like to go to NASPA, right afterwards, we're getting some registration started along with collecting money. And something over. I think John tested and registration's back up.
From what I could see, I didn't go all the way through the process, but I wasn't sure if I was in the right place either, 100%. So.
For them, I'm trying to work on other professional development opportunities. I have put a monthly survey on Slack because all it was too confusing for me. So if you get a chance to take that, everyone were told there's some different ideas, and then you can put what you kind of want to see for professional development semester. And then today we have Alex talking about Parliamentary Procedure.
Awesome, thank you. Next, I'll turn it over to Whitney. Can you share with us? So Whitney is our Vice President of Programming, and so she's working heavily with Careers and Student Affairs Month. So would you like to share with us about how that's going?
Yeah, next week on Friday, October 3rd, we have a table in the union from 10:30 to 1, and we will have whiteboards. We have an organizational chart of student affairs, so we'll get those that are walking by to kind of to question them what their favorite student affairs department is, who they want to thank, and on the whiteboard, we'll write thank you to maybe the Kelly Center or something like that. We also have buttons that we're going to give out. So basically, it'll get them thinking about what is student affairs, who are folks in student affairs, and who should be. We're doing that on Friday, October 3rd from 2:30 to 1. And if anyone's able to be at the table for a little bit, I'll be glad to kind of go over what we're going to cover. If you'd like to donate the timer, a couple hours, and just let me know. And also Monday, October 10th, we're doing the same thing, 10:30 to 1. And we'll have a table doing the same thing. And like I mentioned before, October 18th, which is on a Tuesday, we're having our teacher table at the majors and graduate program fair. So basically, we're getting the name out of higher education student affairs. We'll have a speak quiz for the students to come by and kind of getting them interactive with student affairs. Also, we'll be following up with them because that's important to follow to try to get them interested. So, any questions with that? Amber?
Do you have a handout, a link or something that you can shoot our way where we can see what's going on each day?
With
For the video you're talking about, or the month?
okay, yeah, are you talking about like a sign up?
Well, just that we can serve as a reference to like what to go to and have.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I can go for John and then you can start.
Great.
Oh,
It's the only one I've got, sorry, yeah.
So any other questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pass around the sheet. If you're interested in doing the table for a little bit, 30 minutes, anything, that would be great. So just write your name and time that you're.
Awesome, thank you. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Amber for our social program.
Okay. Well, we had our first group social gathering this past weekend on Saturday, and our team had a great afternoon. Started with the cookout, and then we got into the games, and then that kind of went into the night. We're having some great time, just spending time with each other, laughing, and getting to know each other better. These wearables, we played this card game called Werewolf, and I had a lot of fun. I think a lot of other people did too. So thank you so much to Maureen for opening her home and helping me co-host that, and for planning it. It really means a lot. We had so much time to replace. And thank you everyone who came and brought goodies. You just kind of grubbed into the night. It was fun to play games now. And I hope to do more just casual where we can just grub, play games, just hang out. And there is so many things going around at this point. But I do have a very casual, laid back poll, and you just, if you've got it, so where did these go? Brittany? And you can just put a little slash mark to all that apply. And then there's a little list, some pumpkin patch visits, some bonfire nights, those are just options. We're not limited to those, but we can ignite more options, more outings, more gatherings. And so we're not limited to those are just some ideas, but go ahead and check all that apply. I do want to talk, since we're getting to the month of October. Last year we went on a pumpkin patch visit as a group about 30 to 45 minutes away in this little community town, Florence, I think it was. It was cute. It was a fun day. We just went in the mid-morning. We were done by afternoon. That's fun. So that's an option to do something like that. Again, I like that kind of stuff, but not everyone does. So I wanted to kind of put it out there and for you to think about it. We need to come up some dates. Maybe a Saturday, we can take our whole day. We maybe go and hang out together and we get back early and we can write papers and such. But another option, instead of going to a town and driving, you could go to the Bethesda Place Farm, which is where Brittany lives. On October 8th, they're having a pumpkin picking day, sort of a pumpkin patch day. That's another option. So that's on your sheet, just some things to think about for October. I'd like to maybe do a s'mores night at my place. We can play werewolf around the fire pit and make s'mores, something like that through Zoom. And then Brittany has offered her home to do something this fall semester, either in October or November. So just a couple of things to be thinking about. And if you have go bowling, we can do busy night, or we can do things that are more casual. So we can do an alley, we can go just a gathering route. But if you have any ideas, just give me a holler. If you want to co-plan, I know Brittany's can help me out about this semester. Co-plan something with me, I'll help you organize it. But if you have an idea and you want to roll with it, just give me a holler and we can figure it out. Other than that, just a couple of secret power reminders. From what I'm seeing, it's going really well. Again, this is just to lift each other up and encourage each other, just in case you're wondering, why are we doing this with kids? But it's to instill community and lift each other up and encourage each other as we're going down this full path, which can sometimes be overwhelming. But just every other week at something, even if it's a little note, you don't have to seriously spend money, but just keep them on your radar and let them know you're thinking about them. I did get some feedback. I don't think that this is even applicable anymore because as we started the program this semester, it seems to be going well. But after last semester, I did get a little bit of feedback coming into this position that there were some who received nothing from their secret PAL in semesters past. So we don't want that to happen again. So if you signed up, you're probably engaged. And just keep up the great work. So far, so good. Any questions for me about any of the fun stuff going on? All right. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Up next, I'll turn it over to the VP of Communications.
All right. I've been started collecting dues, so if you have not yet turned those in, please. It's $15 a semester. We're starting for the year. You also have the opportunity to go to the NASPA regionals and get that application accepted. Remember, you also have the deposit Tuesday. That was 120. And then if you have questions on money-wise, we related, ask me. Otherwise, I'll also be sending out an email message later this week with all the information from this meeting, along with any other further news from the executive members. Other than that, just kind of working on getting this all set up and ready for it, and that's about it. Everything else is going on.
Are there any questions so far about anything? Again, I'd kind of like to mirror what Amber was saying of if you do think of any ideas or things that you'd like to see that would be great, you know, in terms of professional development or student programming, etc., please feel free to reach out to the respective vice presidents. Or if you're not sure who it would best be directed to, you can feel free to reach out to myself, or Alex is serving as the president-elect, so he will take over the presidency in the spring and in the fall. And then I will shift into the past president role in the spring. Awesome. Would you like to go next? So Alex has been kind enough to prepare a little bit of a presentation for us, especially helpful in terms of professional development about Parley Pro or Robert's Rules of Order. So as we sometimes operate business during these meetings, and they're not always just updates, being aware of how that process works.
So how many of you are actually familiar with parliamentary procedure? Okay, awesome. So we're going to talk about how this kind of affects you all as a professional. I liked my little thing, how to survive student organization meetings, because as an undergrad, we did not use this, and there would be weeks where we would be in meeting for 4 hours. So implementing this can save lots of time. It's up here. So I do have some educational outcomes since this is semi-professional. So as of completing this presentation, you all should be able to demonstrate a basic understanding and application of Parley Pro or parliamentary procedures, and then have a basic understanding of the importance of this process. Cool. So for you all, this is going to be a lot more administrative. So you won't be necessarily administrating this to your student organizations, but you'll be a resource for them. So the first thing you can do is effectively and efficiently run meetings. In your department, in any kind of student organization, you advise, you can help push that procedure along. You can also, all right, so this is also great information if you're helping develop new advisors or if you're serving as well. And then finally, this will enable you to empower students in a minoritized role. So why do we use parliamentary procedure? First of all, it allows minorities to be heard by promoting fairness. Everyone has an equal share at the table in Parlipro. I'm just going to refer to it as that. So it gives everyone an option to stand up, discuss their ideas, and be treated with respect. The next is it only allows one subject to be discussed at a time. So if you have issues focusing, this will help you zone in on one thing. There are a bunch of different little steps, which we'll go through eventually, but it starts with one main point and then we'll build off of there. At any point, I think you can only go like 2 steps off, but it has to affect the step before it, which accepts the main point. It facilitates the transaction of business efficiently and effectively, so we can easily go into a thing. Did anyone do FFA in high school, Future Farmers of America? Were you a part of the Parlipro team? Okay, so they have got it down to a science where I've seen them run a meeting, like an hour's worth of meeting in about 8 minutes, just on how efficient you can make things by how quickly you can go through the steps. It also improves your communication style. This is all about being concise and making sure that you are clearly stating your point. And then finally, the will of the majority will always prevail. So you all have a vote, and depending on what the majority believes is what we will move forward in. So there are some general rules. All members should be recognized by the presiding officer or chair, and then are allowed to speak. So I'll actually walk through the steps with examples later, so this is just something to keep in mind. Parlipro addresses one main motion before moving on to another, just that very focused idea. Debates must remain germane or on topic, so you can't like just wander off with your points. It has to be stuck on point. I don't know. Germane is the word I'm looking for. I didn't want to use it. And the last is quorum. So quorum is necessary for any kind of business to happen. So it's 50% plus one person of your active membership in good standing to do anything business-wise. So you can vote on anything. Technically, in most rules, if there's less than quorum, the only thing you can do is adjourn. So like you can come and then you can leave. That's all you can really do. So there is an order of meetings. So call to order is how we start our meetings. Next is roll call, which is done in a bunch of different ways. You swipe your card, you come in. Approval of minutes. So as we start building our minutes, John will send out an email explaining what happened in the meeting, and then we will start off by approving what was emailed out. If you have any additions or subtractions from that you'd like to make, we will discuss that at that time. Next is your officer and advisor reports. So what we're going through right now. And I spelled chair wrong. So chair reports is after that. So if we have committees, that is what they would speak next. Unfinished business, a lot of times it's seen as old business, which I have learned through all of this process is incorrect terminology. You write old business, you'll get in trouble with Robert's Rules of Orders or like the 17 different versions that they have. Then you have your new business, so if you'd like to propose something changed or amended, you can do that. And then we do our final announcements and reminders. All right, so there are 4 types of motions, and then we're going to break them down easily. So the main one we will be using are called main motions. It is the lowest priority. So what that means is you can make a motion if it is of a higher priority, but you can never go down. So this is set at the lowest priority because only one is allowed to be discussed at a time. So if you want to make an amendment to the Constitution, that is a main motion. Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. So this starts a process that we will go into kind of in-depthly, but it starts basically anything you want to do business-wise starts here. Then we have our subsidiary motions. So these affect or alter the main motion. There's a bunch that we have that you can do. So if you are proposing, that's a good thing, proposing that SAGA provides lunch for every meeting. You can amend that so you can insert words or paragraphs or strike out things. So if you don't believe it's fair that we provide all of it, you can change the wording of the motion on the thing. Next is you can commit it. So if we have committees, which we probably do not, you can actually refer this to a specific committee and then they take over going through this limit or extend discussion. So every discussion we have should have a time limit established as soon as we start it. So you can actually do a vote to increase or decrease the time we allow discussion to happen. You can postpone the motion, so you can temporarily suspend it to another meeting. You can indefinitely postpone, which means you just kill the motion. Kills it right there at the beginning. You can table the motion. So tabling is not a word we use correctly a lot. Tabling we usually use to like push to another meeting. Tabling is you just move it to later in the meeting. It has to be the same day. Otherwise, you're postponing the motion. And the last one is previous question. It's also known as a call to question. So you end discussion and you actually move to a vote. Next is our privileged motion. So these are more about an individual basis. So if you can't read what's on the screen, if you can't hear what's happening in the room, if you get sick and you need to leave, these are points of privilege, and these are something that you bring up. You can interrupt, just because like it usually is some kind of emergency or something that has to be addressed immediately. It does not require recognition from the presiding officer. And the last is incidental. So these are more about getting into the in-depth. So the first is called a division of the question. So if you propose more than one portion to a motion, we can actually break it down piece by piece. And that's what that means, to division of the question. So say you want to say, we get lunch and we get ice cream afterwards. So like we would break it into lunch and then into ice cream. The point of information, so this gives you an opportunity as a member to ask a question. You are not providing information, but you're just trying to get something clarified that you do not understand. A point of order is a challenge to the process. So if someone is going out of turn or they're not following the procedure, point of order will actually call things like back to order, put it back to where you want to. And then suspension of the rules doesn't really affect a lot of organizations. This is something like if you have to do an emergency election, and in your bylaws it says you have to have a week of nominations and a week of elections. You can actually bypass the bylaws. That requires a 2/3 vote. Yes.
So is this any member says these things?
Yes.
At any time?
Yes. This gives you all power. Yes.
I have a question too. Whenever you say a motion to, and if it's a privileged one, you say a motion.
So you would say, I have a point of privilege. That would be how you start. Because a motion, it is a privileged motion, but motion's like a catch-all term. So it's just a point of privilege is what usually falls under this. So like point of privilege, I need to leave, something happened, and then we just like, it's just not, instead of like getting up and running, we kind of understand what's happening.
I also add, you move something. Just.
Any other questions before we go into an example? Yes, Brittany.
So a person would say, I have a point of division of the question.
So this is a division of the question is the statement you would make.
So I say division of the question.
Yes, and that would break it into parts.
Okay.
All right, so presenting a motion, I think so this is the technical way of doing it. We don't necessarily require this. So a member rises and addresses the presiding officer. So you'll stand up and say, Sir President or Madam President. We kind of skip that and just do a raise your hand. You can get recognized. The president recognizes the member. Alice Cooper has the floor. The member proposes the motion. So I propose that SAGA will have lunch provided for membership during the meeting. And then it has to be seconded. So if the motion is not seconded, it instantly dies. All right, so then the presiding member states the motion again once it's been seconded so that it is completely happened, like it's completely discussed. So it's been moved and seconded that SAGA will provide lunch for all members during the monthly meeting time. Is there a discussion? And then you all would discuss, like you wouldn't even discuss, you would vote on if you would like to have a discussion. If it's like a clear cut, everyone wants this to happen, we can do what's called vote by, yeah. So, but if anyone like votes against it, we have to go into discussion. And then a discussion happens, a motion to continue or extend the time can happen and also can close it. And then the discussion needs to remain on topic. And then you can amend a main motion. So we talked about this. This was the secondary or the motion. So after it's been brought up, you can actually insert and remove portions of the motion. So this is our first step out of the main motion. So what this will do is you bring it to a vote, you make your amend, and then that goes into discussion. So just like the last thing, unanimous consent. If it fails, we go into a discussion to talk about the amendment to the motion. Is that clear for everyone? Yes. So we can insert additional wording. So the initial, which I think I actually did that. So the initial was, I propose that SAGA will have lunch provided for membership during meeting time. When I rewrote it, I did my own amendment. So we'll provide lunch for all members during the monthly meeting time. So it's a bit more specific instead of just, you have to have lunch for the meeting times. It says it's providing lunch for all members instead of just like, we bought 10 things, you're on your own.
But you would move this amendment,
I would move to amend.
that would be in our outline,
What do you mean?
right? So how do you know when to start to move?
So once we start discussion, you can amend a main motion. So I'll go back to the types of motion. So as soon as the main's one done, you can now do a subsidiary, which is the amending and all that fun stuff. You can do a privileged and you can do an innocent. It basically goes from lowest to highest. So as long as you're going a step up, you can continue that conversation. You can never take a step down until we resolve something. Questions? I know this is a lot. This is a procedure that has been established over like 120 years based on like how courts run.
Can we have a copy of this information?
It'll go on to Tiger Link after we're done. All right. Just like the main motion, this an amendment will require a second. We do the unanimous vote. Discussion will be followed upon, and then it'll be called to question just like we're doing on the motion. So questions, comments, concerns. I know it's a lot in a very brief presentation, but this is also why I provided the cheat sheet. So it basically gives you the breakdown of everything will be like I just discussed. It is not Robert's rules, but they're all basically the same. The wording's a little different, so on your page it will say supermajority, and that means a 2/3 vote. You have to have 2/3 the positive for something to pass. Anything else?
Would it help to work through an example?
Yes.
Okay. Would someone like to propose a motion? I mean, this will be fake, so you can come up with whatever crazy cockamamie thing you want to.
You're presiding. So.
Okay. Yes, John.
I move that all SAGA meetings hereby be held in Sheridan Hall for all times in the future.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Does anyone second the motion?
You don't have to. You can.
You're not required.
If you don't second it, it just immediately dies. But if you'd like to see it discussed, then you would second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, exactly.
So, yeah, okay, there's been no second, so it is dead.
Wait, can we go back?
I'm trying.
Motion to extend the discussion.
We haven't got to discussion yet because it failed to become an actual motion.
So when we do the I move that SAGA provides lunch for all attending members during SAGA meetings.
Second.
Okay, so it has been probably moved in second that SAGA provides lunch to all members during SAGA meetings.
Somebody take one.
Is there any discussion?
Somebody take one. Move to discuss.
You don't need to move to discuss. We just automatically move and do it.
Well, technically, you can do a unanimous vote.
Yeah. I mean, generally, so like discussion just kind of opens. So if you want to like discuss, you discuss. If you want to vote, then you would make a motion to like, let's just wrap this up and vote. Does that make sense?
Yeah, do I need to say bring views?
No,
No.
because you'll be recognized.
Raise your hand.
Yes, Brittany.
My discussion would be that we do not have funds to provide this.
Okay.
Point of information, we do actually have that money in our budget.
Point of order. That's where somebody should call out point of order because you didn't ask a question. You made a statement.
I was making point of information.
Point of information is a question.
Yeah, point of information is a question.
You're doing a
However,
point of You're doing a point of clarification.
So how much do we have in our budget?
That would be a point of information.
there you go. And then we could turn to John and be like, okay, John.
Can we look at the top? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can direct like questions at somebody too, like, okay, tell us how much we have, kind of thing. So-
Point of information. Can we use the funds for feeding people at SAGA events?
We would, I mean, John, can you answer
Use
this?
the activity funds, we cannot use positions funds.
So to clarify for, So to clarify for some people, we have two sources of revenue. Some of our funding comes from the Student Government Association, and that's what's termed as allocations. And then the other source of funding is the dues, and the dues is what allows us to do fun things, or if we wanted to provide lunch for everyone who attends a SAGA meeting, that's where we get that funding from. SGA or allocations funding needs to be a benefit to the student body as a whole. So if we provided lunch for just us, that would not be benefiting the whole student body, that'd be benefiting just us as a student organization. Does that provide clarification? Good, okay. So we are still in the motion of providing,
We're still in discussion.
yeah, we're still in discussion for the motion, which is providing lunch to everyone, every SAGA member. Okay, the previous question has been called. Any objections to moving on to a vote?
So,
Okay.
so we move to call the previous question, basically saying discussion, I believe discussion is end discussion, and let's vote.
Mm-hmm.
It's
not working.
You have it? No.
What? Wait, okay.
What?
Well, we have to do a vote on call the question first.
Yeah.
So if you-
Seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, no one seconded it?
Yeah, no one seconded.
You have a second.
Okay, so that means now we have moved into, wait, okay. I need to get.
We're voting on closing discussion.
Okay, yes. Oh, goodness. So all those in favor of closing discussion and moving into a vote, raise your hands. All those who would like to continue discussion, please raise your hands. Okay, so the ayes have it, so now we'll move into a vote. So all those in favor of providing lunch to all members during SAGA meeting, monthly meeting times, please raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, put your hands down. All those in favor of not providing lunch to all SAGA members during monthly meeting times. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's opposed. So we will not be providing lunch to anyone.
That's not a majority.
What?
It was not a majority, it was 7 votes.
I tried 8.
I might have-
I might be a fool.
Can you call a question, or call a discussion after you vote
Yeah.
on the
Once it's been moved to second and voted on to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Can you bring up, like, because we talked a lot about funds, but can you bring up, like, is this a good use of our resources? Is that a big question?
Yes.
During discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like.
As long as it is about the topic at hand, you can ask about it.
Yes.
You can ask qualitative questions.
Yes.
Yes.
During the discussion time, if you have a question, you need to say, point of information.
If you were asking a question, like if you're asking someone specifically, it's a point of information. If you're like just proposing a question to like make us think, you don't technically have to say that. But like, is it a good use of our funds? Isn't really a direct question. It's more of a philosophical.
It's a good way to like ask those questions when you don't have the floor, kind of thing. So like if that would help provide you clarification in order to make that judgment call for yourself, but you really don't need to take the floor and talk about why this is or is not a good idea. Yes, I'm sorry. So take the floor. So in terms of when you raise your hand and you are recognized by the chair, that's when you have taken the floor. So that gives you the freedom to speak in terms of if you're in favor of it, not in favor of it, or something germane on the topic in that area.
It also ensures that no one talks over you. You are the only person allowed to talk at this moment.
Mm-hmm. You have the talking stick. When you have the floor, you have the talking stick. That's a better way to put it. Zach raised a good point. You can also abstain from voting. So I did not make an abstention an option when I was going through.
How does abstentions work now?
You don't.
No, because they, like, to get majority, they have to lean one way or the other. Does it just lean with the majority? In every different edition of Robert's Rules, they change how abstentions work, and I don't know how it currently is since it's newly revised. But it used to be like they would go in favor of the majority, But if it like takes away from the majority, no majority is met, we have to do it.
Are there any other questions, things that are unclear?
Can you speak without the topic?
That would be rude. You really shouldn't.
Okay, so there are times where you do not have to be recognized, and those fall under your privileged and your incidental. So like point of order, when he called it, he was not technically like
I can't
recognized for that. Technically, a president can. They have all rights as a member. It's new in the new revised stuff. They can even vote now. You're not required to be a tiebreaker.
You just destroyed the whole system.
I know. Robert's rules just updated and messed with everything. But these two, you do not have to like be called on. You're just like, especially like it's an emergency. Like I need to leave right now. Something happened. We just understand you're not just bolting from the discussion. But also like if you can't see something or you can't hear anything, you can interrupt to ensure that people are talking louder or more clearly. Or we do something so you have all the same like things that everyone else is able to like benefit from.
So like, this thing works. I can't stand in front of it. So if the print was very small, for example, you could, say point of privilege. I can't see the screen. You make the print bigger, kind of thing, and you can do that in the middle of myself speaking or somebody else who has the floor.
Point of privilege, could you please speak up? I can't hear.
Yes.
So in discussion, when somebody states like you had mentioned, you have the funds for this, does it go back to you and then you would say you have an answer and then somebody would?
You can ask someone directly, or you can kind of pose it out there, and like if you're not sure who to ask or where that direction's directed towards, you can kind of direct it toward me to redirect it, or just kind of to the audience for someone to step in and answer that question. Yeah. No, yeah, you can interrupt for that. Any other concerns, questions? I mean, there is a lot to it. We kind of rushed through it very quickly.
Will we start using this during our meeting?
So to provide some clarification in that terms, we don't necessarily do a whole lot of business. A lot of it is kind of updates from the chairman. So every meeting, we may not have business that we would actually be using, at least this process of making motions and so forth. But it still kind of governs the whole system. So in terms of how everyone gets reports, how we move into unfinished business. So for example, let's say we ran out of time, we still had something on the table, it would make sure that we take care of the business from the last meeting before moving forward with anything new. So yes and no. So the terms of the motions, you don't have to worry about so much because we won't use them all the time, but it still kind of governs the system. And it does provide you the opportunity, if we are in a meeting, for you to make a motion and put some business on the table. So you can do that. Usually what you do, though, like if you do have some business or something in mind, usually we'll reach out to the executive board, like myself, Alex, etc., and say, hey, can we talk about this issue, etc., etc. So that way doesn't just take everyone off off keel. We can kind of wrap our heads around it, think about it beforehand, so that way we can come out with a more organized approach. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Any other questions? See, not and I think sorry, I should probably raise. So let's see, what is it? The previous question and the question. Help me clarify this. So one, I think it's
You can call the question.
call the question. So call the question is when
They're
you
the
just,
same thing. It's just a different term.
okay, so
Previous question is the technical term to call to question.
okay, my understanding has been like call the question is just kind of like if you want to get a sense of the room and like call the question, and then if nobody objects to moving on to a vote, then we're good. However, let's say somebody is just being a really meanie head and they just keep objecting. If you call the previous question, that means that we move into voting on whether or not we vote. So you can just call the question, we're good, and then we don't have to vote on voting. But let's say Maureen just really wants to say no every single time and object and keep us in discussion forever and ever. you can call the previous question, and then everyone will vote yes, let's vote already. Maureen will say no, and then we will be able to vote. So that's how, again, you can, the majority can prevail within the organization. Does that help, or did I just confuse everyone? Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Glad that was a benefit to everyone. So we kind of did things a little bit out of order. So we did this presentation first to help with this next part. Whitney has decided to step down from the VP of Programming opportunity just because of with everything going on in her life. Things are just kind of busy and hectic, and she wants to make sure that SAGA and everything is done well. And so she would like to kind of step down and provide that opportunity for somebody else. So I will actually be looking for a motion to open up nominations to elect a new VP. Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any nominations for VP of Programming? This is actual business. We're not really practicing now. Yes, Amber.
I'm going to nominate Ms. Brittany Hughes for Vice President of Programming.
Brittany, do you accept?
Can I call the question?
Wait, you want to just go straight to a vote?
No, sorry. Discussion? I need to ask.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and pose the question.
Okay, so can we talk about what exactly?
So the VP, or Whitney, would you like to?
Sure. Yeah. October is full of, marketing for higher education student affairs, and so mainly it's you can be creative on what you decide to do. I kind of just fell in the footsteps of how we did last year, but that's just have a table in the union, like I did, have everyone sign if they can show up a little bit, just to kind of help other students realize about it. So it's just the student affairs month this month. Also on the 18th, as you know, is the majors of career fair. And basically just doing stuff. You can be creative. I wasn't too creative. Just doing different things to get students involved and to understand. Also, we have monthly meetings with officers. They discuss what they each discuss what they're doing, and so you bring to the table what that position is. John, do you have any other description?
So there's Careers and Student Affairs Month, but we are also looking, at opportunities to kind of expand the role. So other programming efforts on campus of just, letting undergraduates know kind of who we are, putting on events with them. We have SAGA or SGA allocations for, like a speaker to come in to do a reception in the spring, as well as something to do a reception in the fall with Careers and Student Affairs Month. So in the past, it's been primarily doing Careers and Student Affairs Month, but there's opportunity for it to grow. So that's an opportunity in the position. Get creative. Do you have any more questions, or is that answer? Are you looking more?
Yeah, is there last year in October we had a student first banquet, and that is something that we will be wanting to continue, or is that?
That's up to that vice president to do. We have the funding available for it. Do you want to keep thinking about it for a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Yes, Amber.
May I please nominate Mr. Gina Tolbert for Vice President of Programming?
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any others? Devaney? Okay. No, decline.
I'd like to nominate Amy. Next to my I think I'm going to get this. Yeah. That's why I'm going
Okay. Yes, Amber?
Oh, I want to nominate someone else, but I kind of want to ask a question if they, but I guess we just have to find out. I'd like to now nominate Mr. Chris Levy to think about a team like. This might be a good fit for him.
Mhm.
So thank you.
Okay. Brittany, are you any closer to your decision?
I want to say, I'll just say if Chris doesn't want.
Okay.
Chris has some questions
Yes.
about the executive.
What do you guys think for executive?
Currently, we're kind of all over the place. We try to meet on Tuesdays. But there's one Tuesday where I will be out of town as well as Brett. And so that meeting is on Thursdays, but we can kind of reassess that.
Chris wants a month.
Yeah, we meet once a month as officers, and then here once a month. So you'd just be committing to a second meeting time.
Point of privilege, you go step.
Go for it.
Is that right?
Yes, good job.
Would it be possible to hold the Constitution on the thing and get a description?
Yeah. If I can figure out why the screen turned off. Is it muted?
And I'm happy to help the transition.
It's because of the PowerPoint.
Not.
I do have some things to say about.
Yay. Yeah. Here we go. So in the Constitution, it currently reads, identify and recruit potential undergraduate mentees and NASPA undergraduate fellows program participants. Identify and recruit mentors for undergraduate mentees and NUF participants.
Enough piece does not sit with SAGA.
Yeah.
So I can.
Provide training for both mentors and mentees, which again would be enough piece. Serve as primary coordinator for Careers and Student Affairs Month membership activities, and assist other executive board members with any tasks. So those last two are really the only ones you got to worry about.
I'm sorry, I have to restart.
Okay.
I accept.
Okay. Anyone like to close nominations?
I move to close nominations.
Oh, just
Very
second?
good,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry, I did not hear that. Awesome. So, question has been called. Are there any objections on moving on to a vote? Seeing none. I was expecting you to move to unanimous decision.
If we go question minutes.
Okay. Congratulations, Brittany. Okay, so I understand that we're at time. Alex, so as many of you know, we're kind of using Slack as a big communication tool. So Alex and I have offered to kind of talk about Slack and how to navigate some of those critical pieces that might make it a little bit more friendly to understand. So I'm going to pick that up.
Yeah, so is everyone not in Slack? Cool, we'll send you an invitation. So what this is it's a way of just like concentrating how we communicate. So instead of sending out lots of emails or just waiting on an email, we can instantly connect with each other. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the channel. So depending on what you want to do, it depends on what channels you'd like to join. We currently have 10, I believe. Are you a member of all of them, John?
Might be, yeah.
Let's create So it looks like, yeah, so we currently have 10 channels. So depending on what you want to figure out or what you want to play with is kind of where you are. Alumni is clearly for alumni of the organization. Donut Buddies is a program that we started, I'm trying to push right now. What will happen is we got a bot who will pair you up every 2 weeks, so you have an opportunity to meet with someone you normally wouldn't. It just asks that you grab coffee, a donut, or a meal together once in those 2 weeks. Yeah, super simple. If you would like to join that, you have to join the Donut Buddies thing. It'll sign us up. The next one will be next Monday. It's always a Monday at 10 a.m. When it updates and randomized, you'll send you a personal message between you and your new partner.
What if I'm not in Donut Buddies? How do I join?
Oh, that's a good question. Click the channels button. And then you can actually browse all of them. So Donut Buddies is right there at the top. This is the one you aren't a part of. But you can actually search for Donut Buddies. You can preview what the channel looks like. You can see that there's currently 4 people in the organization or in the channel. So if you'd like to get a preview, it'll show you what's happening.
And then if you can see down here on the bottom, there's actually a button to click Join Channel. So then I click that, and now I'm in the channel.
Yeah.
That's a great way that, you know, if you don't want to hear everyone's inside jokes or you're not interested in Donut Buddies, then you can leave that channel and you don't have to listen to what's happening in there. But you can always preview it.
Next is general, which is basically used for just about anything. If you have some kind of general question, general opportunity. Recently, it's been more of like an all call. If you guys like, if we're sharing something or doing something, this is an easy way for us to get it out to the whole group without doing a group message. Ease of Business has mostly been classwork stuff. So if you have questions about assignments, this is kind of where it is. I believe this is also where John's been uploading things where we can easily find them.
So if you're interested, so for example, I know there were some questions in the past about how to access certain articles to read for the classes. So one of the things that I did is uploaded some of those. So if you click to open the channel details, there's this shared files bar. And so here it has a number of the articles that we've read. Zach uploaded the HESA program culminating learning demonstration document. Yeah. And you can see the other people who are members of that channel as well. You can pin items so that way they stay in a pinned items area, just kind of like the shared files, so they're easier to access. The other thing to consider is also open your account. I'm not sure if we go to the website. Nope. Okay, so the accounts make a nice, easy, friendly way to kind of get to know people's faces and so forth. You will also see like phone numbers posted there, etc. If you upload that to your profile. You can edit your profile. So I can change my first name, last name, what I do, put in my phone number, put in a Skype name, and that's about all you've got options to do, and change your profile picture. Other things that you can do is modify how you receive messages or notifications. So you can hit this snooze button. So for the next 2 hours, I will not hear anything from this specific channel. And I can also do the same and snooze notifications or not hear notifications from the whole thing. So if I'm about to, you know, write a paper and I want to be focused, I can hit snooze and not hear notifications. Or if people are being really loud and noisy on random, but I don't want to leave random, I can hit snooze on it for 2 hours and then I won't get notifications constantly. And then afterwards, you'll just get a kind of a thing of like 19 things have been posted since you hit snooze. And
I was going to talk about the do not disturb schedule. So it is automatically set up between 10 and 8 a.m. I believe that you do not get any kind of notifications from Slack. If you'd like to increase that or decrease those hours, you can actually do that underneath the little bell. So you can actually set up the schedule to whatever you want. So yeah, you can actually alter it. So if you want to sleep in and you don't want to be disturbed at 8 a.m., move it to 10. Easy stuff like that.
Are there any questions about how to use Slack, utilize it? You can feel free to approach myself or Alex. We utilize it a lot, and currently in our office, we're actually utilizing it with our staff teams as a way to communicate with them during major events and things like that that are happening out of our office. Any questions, considerations? Any last words from vice presidents? You have anything else?
No.
Cool. There's also a phone app. I didn't mention this earlier, but there's also a phone app for Slack. So it works on Android, iPhone, and the Windows Phone. So cross platforms is pretty handy. Well, if we don't have anything else, I am looking for a motion.
A motion to adjourn.
I don't accept that. You
I
said-
move to adjourn.
Awesome. We're free.
All those in favor?
Everyone's gonna say aye.
I'm gonna say
Thank
nay.
you.